Okay, so I utilize a lot of different modalities of training, from body weight calisthenics, body weight stuff, to traditional barbell work with to flywheel training, which is my favorite. To I've been experimenting with isometric work, and ironically, I don't do very much resistance band um, use. And I kind of went into a deep dive on X3, which is probably the most well-known of training systems, even probably the most expensive. And in that deep dive, I found a bunch of different YouTubers who reviewed um, uh, reviewed a lot of different bars, and I just had a brain fart of the one guy, like a um, hybrid workout. Sorry, and geek or gamer body also. And what I wanted to find out was a little cheaper way of cost of entry getting into resistance bands and seeing if it was actually worth getting a specific resistance band bar. And while I was waiting, what I did settle on was this Bryant bar, as opposed to, oddly, um, what I already had was a cable pulley. I rigged this up to work with resistance bands. This is like a 40-inch wide bar for cable pulley. I used it for my flywheel. I use it mainly for the flywheel. But that was before Eccentric came out with their own um, cable pull system, or at least I forget what they call it. But they sent it to me for free, and thank you, to test before it was widely released. And this comes with a yoke to pull on from a central point. It's a nice bar, 42 inches, slightly longer than this one, and it uses webbing as its pivot point, but it spins freely, as you can kind of see as I'm turning the bar. The outer parts are staying um, stationary. Same thing with this bar, is it has stainless steel pivot points, and I just added a couple of locking carabiners, heavy duty black diamond ones, so they're not going to break. And while I was waiting for the J. Bryant bar, also, I noticed my other K eccentric product, which is from K Box, my original OG deadlift bar, which is still going great. It's a incredibly nice piece of equipment. It's aluminum, and it has a nice swivel piece to it, though I could probably use some dry film lubricant on there to keep it from squeaking. And what else? And it's got another black diamond locking um, carabiner on it. And what I was playing around with, since it's a central point, which is actually kind of nice for bicep curls, because you can kind of balance yourself out as opposed to having it being tugged when it's on the end. And this band is a kind of a hybrid. It's stronger than most black bands, but weaker than, I guess, what purple is the next one up. So doubled up like this is probably too much resistance for me. So what I had to do is kind of lean over to get a curl. But it worked great. Works great. I And then on Friday night, Saturday morning, I got the J. Bryant bar. And one of the complaints is the um, in order to get around the X3 patent, which has the swiveling ends, the J. Bryant bar uses webbing in a knurled aluminum bar, which is a very nice bar. It's high quality. It uses webbing, basically seatbelt webbing, through the hollow tubing, and the ends are chamfered. They're nice and smooth. But unfortunately, what happens is the webbing wears as it spins or kind of rotates on here. And I tried to see if you could cover this up. And the chamfered ends they're smooth. And I was wondering if you could put a coating on this end to kind of make it even more cushioned. I tried that. And unfortunately, even that caused it to wear. And I've literally used this all of 4 workouts. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can kind of see it's kind of already worn, and it's not going to take much for that to cut. That said, I think this is the new design bar, and it's has a debuckle and allows you to basically feed in a new strap. So they kind of, I think, realize that you have to replace that strap, and it can also, you can actually allow this to change the length if you wanted to, which is kind of cool. But unfortunately, J. Bryant bar is going to go back to Amazon because after 4 uses, I don't think this thing's going to last very long. But that said, this is what it's like using it with just a resistance band on the end, as I demonstrated with the eccentric bar from the center. Like I was saying, having it in the center point for bicep curls is actually pretty good because you balance yourself out. Whereas this, if you get the strap kind of, or you get your anchor point kind of offset, it's not going to balance itself out. Does that make sense? And if you use 2 feet, same thing. If you're off center like that, it's not going to self-balance. Whereas if it's had a center point mount, it would self-balance. So that said, we'll go with one leg, 1 foot anchoring it, and do something similar to what I did with the eccentric bar. What I don't really love is, I love the convenience of having the hook, but it's almost not deep enough, and that's just a naggle. Maybe make it a little bit more of a hook, so it kind of keeps it in, because it has a tendency to, when you set it down, just fall off. Not a big deal. So it's just whining at that point. And that said, also, as far as wear, again, I have had probably 4 workouts of this tops. I don't know if you can see it, but even the um, sheen of the hot dipping they did on the end starting worn off. Again, not a big deal. It's resistance. It's rubber being dragged across it is going to cause anything to wear. But it's kind of hoping I'd like this bar, but it really doesn't add anything more than to what I have. And given if it's not going to last, it's $36, not a big deal. And it's nice and light. I can see how this would be great for traveling. And if you did travel a lot, I would definitely, even if with the strap wearing, I would use it. But it's just, for me, it's almost a single point or single use item. It's not great for bench press. You got to double up. These bands are a little too long. So I have to kind of do some kind of weird, or double up with the green and the real green and the purple, which I did earlier, to use it for a bench press or chest press, if you want to call it that, because that's technically what it is. I think even green is not enough. And I kind of think this is kind of janky. I don't, I gotta do this. I'd rather just do push-ups because I almost have to hyper extend in order to get a good workout. And then, even if I try to widen it, it's just janky. I think I'd rather do push-ups, or if I was in a hotel room, or do my tricep slider presses. But that said, I'm going to keep on trying to use resistance bands and see how I can use it to add to my workouts. I even got myself a step that I'm letting my wife use, and using that as an anchor point for my isometric work with the strap and for the resistance bands. So anyway, just thought I'd review this and why I'm using resistance bands more. Thanks for watching.